Okay, good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee Council Charities. Please be advised that the meeting is being audio and video recorded and live streamed. I will explain how proceedings will work and to confirm that officers attending remotely can be heard. Can I confirm the following officer joining us remotely can hear us and that we can hear them? Doug Trail-Stevenson?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, good evening.
Lovely,
Welcome.
thanks.
Okay, are there any other officers in attendance remotely tonight that I haven't called out? Okay, members can activate their microphones using the speak button on the microphone unit, and voting will be conducted with the yes, no, abstain buttons in the usual way. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? Okay, item 1 is election of a chair. Can I please have a nomination to be chair of this meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee Council Charities?
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Councillor Amy Allen.
And can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second that.
Is there any objection to Councillor Allen being elected chair of this meeting? No. Okay, I now announce the result and confirm that Councillor Allen will chair. If you'd like to come up. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any apologies for absence? No. All right, so can we take as read the minutes from the 14th of November as a true record? Any objections?
If we weren't present, are we allowed to?
I am wondering if we weren't present for the meeting, we can't really object to them, can we? We can note the minutes and then, yeah. Super. Notification of a business, members should.
Yeah.
Thank you. Members should notify the chair of any other business which they wish to be discussed at the end of either part 1 or part 2 business set out in the agenda. They must state the circumstances which they consider justify the business being considered as a matter of urgency. Is there any other business? No. In that case, I should move on to chair's announcements. Members are reminded that any declarations of interest in respect of any business set out in the agenda. Am I on the right bit, Susan? Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under chair's announcements on the agenda. We have no public participation. And moving on to item 7, annual accounts and returns for council administered charities 2023-2024. Ian Cooper to present.
Thank you, Chair. The council has previously had 4 charities that we're aware of, and we have required to do returns for. They are usually mainly bits of land, but also we've got the Yeomanry collection, which have been donated to us, and we're therefore required to adhere to how they were donated, and therefore report that back to the Charity Commission and have accounts for them. So for section 7 sort of highlights the background about what's required in relation to charities from the Charity Commission, and it's based on the kind of the value of the expenditure and income for those charities in each year. So we have 2 charities where the income is 25,000 or above, and that requires the higher threshold. The income in all the charities cases is just the council's contributions to running costs. The town hall, so the workman's hall and gymnasium does generate a little bit of income because it has donations and some sales in the shop on the museum site, which are kind of allocated to it, but the running costs vastly exceed that. So therefore, the council provides a contribution to make up the difference. In the case of the Town Hall Gymnasium and Workman's Hall Trust and the King George's Field, there are assets attached to them. So in the case of the Gymnasium and Workman's Hall Trust, it is the building. And in the case of the King George's Field Hitchin, there are some small building and the kind of equipment on the field as well. And they're all detailed in the accounts and the appendices. So for those two bigger charities, which have the higher income, we're required to do a kind of more detailed return. And in the appendices, we've set out what that is. It's the kind of list of questions required to fill in and provide to the Charities Commission. We also have to have the accounts independently verified, and we use our shared internal audit service to do that. And they've done that for a number of years, and they go through those and make sure they're all okay. Usually a very quick exercise, but it still needs to be done. In the case of Smithson's Rec, it is just the Smithson's Recreation Ground. So there's no asset value there, and the expenditure is very low for that one, given the size of it. And therefore, as it's done to the £10,000 threshold, sort of far less detail is required in relation to that one. And the yeomanry and artillery collection is even lower in terms of value, in a financial sense. And because it is equipment that kind of doesn't require any real expense to maintain, and there's been no change to it during the year, all we have to do is confirm to the Charities Commission that is the case for the current year. And the fifth one, which has emerged this year, is the one in relation to Mrs. Alpenmoor Hall, which is in Letchworth. We were not aware of this charity, and we received some correspondence over the summer basically offering to do a charity return for us because someone noticed the charity was out of date on the Charities Commission website. We declined that offer because we can do it ourselves, but under further investigation, we found that it should be still a live charity in the sense, but as set out in that paragraph 8.8, there are obligations in relation to the governing document that we should be following, and therefore we should be confirming those to the Charity Commission. We are satisfied we do adhere to that in terms of we let the hall out to the group mentioned in that paragraph, and then they use it for the activities as detailed in that requirement. So we're happy with doing all we need to on that one, except the charity returns. So since we've kind of found that out, been in liaison with the Charity Commission to get that access to the Charity Commission website for that charity. We recently got that, so now we need to work through exactly what we need to provide to them to kind of cover the period when the last charity return was done, which was back in 2010. So quite a number of years have elapsed since then. So we need to work out, do we need to do 14 years of accounts, or can we sort of do a kind of the last few years, just to bring us back up to date with what we need in relation to that. So we're talking about that. And as per the recommendations there, the recommendation is that that is done by myself in consultation with the chair of this subcommittee. So we can get that done, but I'm to come back to the subcommittee. But on the principle, it will just be confirming that it is let out to that group. Currently zero rent. So the main thing will be running some costs because we have done capital works in that building, and we do provide compliance services to that building as well. So we do incur costs on it, which will exceed the income it generates. And therefore, we're just confirming that we're happy as a council, as a subcommittee, you're happy that's fine. As a council, which is sort of slightly separate, as it's detailed, we will make up the costs of that and therefore subsidise that charity to make it back to net zero over that period. So the recommendations are before you, which is to approve the accounts and agree that they are audited, and that recommendation in relation to Mrs. Howard Hall.
I have a question for you, Ian. You might have actually answered this, but in a way that I didn't really understand. 14 years is quite a long time for something like, no work with that charity and the returns, etc. I know they're going to be working with the Charity Commission, as are we going forward with that charity. Is there going to be like a detrimental effect to the charity, or is there going to be any kind of additional oversight or support for them for what looks like it could have been a bit of an oversight on some reporting?
So just to be clear, there is nothing that the group that run the building have done wrong. So it's down to the council. We should have known about it from 2010 onwards. In fact, we did know about it for 2010. Just for some reason in 2010, someone stopped doing the returns, and then time elapsed, and then the corporate noise has gone even further. So we've kind of not been flagging it up. So it is all on the councils to do it. The Charity Commission to be very helpful and receptive in helping us. So I don't think there'll be kind of any detrimental impact of it. It'll just be a case of get ourselves back in order and then keep on going from this point forward.
There we go. So the recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 are as follows. 2.1, that the Charities Subcommittee approves the information required by the Charities Commission for the 4-year registered charities so that returns can be submitted prior to the 31st January 2025 deadline. And are we voting for these all three at once? Yeah. 2.2, that the Charities Subcommittee notes the requirement for those charities with gross income of more than 25,000 in their financial year to have their accounts independently examined. And as this applies to King George's Field and Hitchin Town Hall Gymnasium and Workman's Hall, instructs this to be undertaken for those accounts 2023-24. This will be undertaken by the Shared Internal Audit Service, the SIAS. And 2.3, that the Charities Subcommittee delegates to the Service Director of Resources, in consultation with the Chair of the Subcommittee, authority to provide the required information to the Charity Commission to rectify the position in relation to the Mrs. Howard Memorial Hall charity. Can I have a proposer and a seconder? So race to the buttons, guys.
I'm more than happy to propose that.
So Mick Devlin to propose
And yeah, happy to second.
and Dave to second. I suppose we now... Oh, now there's a debate apparently, but I already asked my questions. So did anyone have anything to comment on as for debate? No debate. Okay, so we can, if that's safe, do we need to do an actual vote, or is that all just noted and we could? And so now we go to a vote.
Chair, that motion is carried.
Super. Thank you very much. And that is the end of the agenda. And I'm now closing the meeting. Thank you very much.